Hi, my name is Hannah Holcomb, and I've never made a documentary before. I'm honestly a little nervous, but we'll see how this goes.
My name is Julie Beadle, and I'm on the NYU women's soccer team.
I studied mechanical engineering, and I'm on the basketball team.
I am a member of the NYU swim team. I'm on the women's basketball team.
I transferred from Southern New Hampshire, and I play basketball.
I'm on the women's swimming team.
I'm on the men's volleyball team.
I'm a sophomore on the women's basketball team.
I'm a swimmer.
I run track, and I'm a second year. Excited to do this interview.
10-9 edge right now for the Mariners as they bring it up court. Holcomb, an NBA distance three, and she gets that one to go. Oh my! Title drought is officially over.
Yeah, it's funny. I don't think people really realize just how young people usually start. I remember I played in my first rec league at 7 years old. Was absolutely awful. Had no talent for it. I think that really changed when I started going to this basketball camp every year, and it just showed me what a community could bring together. It became my identity. I was like the girl who played basketball. Even in elementary school, I mean, I was the girl who would wear basketball shoes with my dresses.
It was like a pretty prominent thing in my childhood, just because I was going to practice every day, going to meets every weekend basically, at least for 3/4 of the year. And it was also like a full year sport.
7th grade, and I was like, I'm not okay with just being on the team. Like, I wanted to be on the team and then be one of the top runners. So it was a lot of pressure that I think I internalized and put on myself, but I sort of just dealt with it.
So when I was young in elementary school, I always say that I want to be a college basketball player. But the year I really realized is when I was 16 back in France. I went into an academy, practice every day, and just with a bunch of friends, we ended up being the second best team in the country.
Wow.
I was starting to get some attention from pro teams, so I was like, okay, that might work out.
Like for me, especially because my dad was the general manager for the Pelicans for I think 9 years in New Orleans, and then he worked for the Spurs the years before. Then he worked for the Knicks before that. So it's like basketball has always been all we did, since I've been a baby, going to games and stuff.
When it really became more of a lifestyle, I would say I was 11, when I was really wow, this is not just for fun. I want to come here to the pool every day.
The thing is, in Rochester, guys volleyball is not really a thing on the west side. That's where I grew up.
Okay.
But then when I went to school on the east side, I honestly thought it was a girl sport until I started playing it. And it was amazing, and I just fell in love with it.
My dad, when I was little, before he left for work, would fold the newspaper in the basketball section and write post-it notes with the Dallas Mavericks, from Dallas specific stats, and what to look for and what everything means. So that's how I really got involved.
It was the biggest role in my childhood. Like I said, I started when I was 6, so I don't really remember a time before I was swimming. I would probably say I knew basketball was more than just a hobby around 6th or 7th grade, and that's kind of a short period of time because I really only started the end of 5th grade. So about 2 years into playing, I knew it was gonna be more, and that kind of started because I decided in 8th grade to go down the boarding school route, and that door was kind of mainly opened through basketball.
Through basketball is where I found a lot of my worth. It's where I found really what felt like home to me. When I played, I felt like I could be so far beyond what people perceive me as, because in school I was very shy, very to myself. But I think when I got on the court, it was if I could be someone who I always wanted to be, and be that outgoing person and make lots of friends. How does basketball make you feel when you play?
You probably feel it too, but it's there's nothing else going on in your mind, just totally dedicated to basketball, no problems. It just feels great. That's why we all play basketball. Is the best thing you can have.
When I think about it too much, it doesn't go well, but like if I just let go and let my body do its thing, then it's just so relaxing and I could just go forever.
It gives me like this like wild energy, you know, like it's like this like, I don't know, it's like untamed, like there's like untamed like drive that's like different than like when I'm doing like other things. It's like, it feels like I'm just like free, like I can do whatever I want. It feels like I'm at home and it feels like I can like be like who I am and be who I like actually want to be.
Like more than just happiness, it's like a happiness that's like stemmed from having so much fun in competition. I would say I'm a very competitive person, so being able to exert that in a way that not only benefits myself but also the team I'm on, and then just kind of the overall nature, it's just like it's like a euphoric emotion kind of, because it's not that doesn't happen really anywhere else.
In college sports, there's Division 1, 2, and 3. In Division 1, that is the highest tier you can play at, the most competitive. They put the most emphasis on athletics, and they give full athletic scholarships. So they cover your whole tuition with the guarantee that you are going to play for them. Division 3 is they do not offer athletic scholarships. Any scholarships you get would be academic, and usually these schools are more academically focused. I knew I wanted to go to Division 3 because I am very career focused. I know that I want to build a life for myself outside the sport, and while I love it, it's not my entire life. I think one of the scariest things for me was coming out of college with nothing on my resume, because just the sport took up my whole life. I think that when something takes up your whole life, it's really hard to love it because it takes you away from other things.
It wasn't critical for me to, continue the sport in college. But it was something that I knew that I enjoyed doing in high school. And it would keep me in shape, quote unquote. But choosing Division 3 really I saw it as less of divisions, more so just I get to continue playing the sport that I've done for so long.
So I knew I wanted to go to a Division 3 school, like right off the bat, because there's a big stigma around going to a Division 1 school. Like you are paid to, with like scholarships, like you're paid to do this sport, and they're like notorious for like breaking athletes and working them way too hard. And I just didn't want that. For me, I wanted an education first. I am passionate about swimming, and I knew I wanted to keep doing it, but I didn't want it at the cost of my education. And I just hear stories about like different swimmers and different athletes that go D1 in like their first year, and they like after their first year they just quit, and they not only quit, but they quit at like hating their sport. And like hearing that, it just made me really sad, because it's like, I've grown up swimming forever, and then in 1 year, like you just hate the sport and you like are broken, like your body physically hurts, like you can't.
Well, so I had two options. Well, I had like three options. I could have gone to a D1 and run there. I could have come here, or I could have waited for another school where I wouldn't have been able to run there. And I decided to come here because I came here honestly just for the academics. And like being able to run still was kind of like an added bonus, and like it was like a cool added bonus. It was like a big bonus.
Well, really, mostly it was because like it was an academics. Like it's the classic answer of like, like I wanted like an intersection of like sports and like high academics. And after some of my like basketball offers and stuff would break down, I was left in a situation where like I was gonna be able to play like at some level of like high level basketball while still getting a good education, and that seemed like awesome.
Well, like my thinking process was, it was like academics first. So I kind of chose the school more based on like what it offers academically and then like also financially. So like swimming was important, but it was kind of secondary.
For women, like, I mean, at least for myself, I feel like even for women in general, there's less range of motion in getting to the WNBA. Like, it's just not a practical dream for most. Practically for myself, I just knew that wasn't going to happen. And so I knew education was like the best thing for me. But I would say definitely towards my last year upcoming of high school, I was like, okay, I need to focus on academics. And my high school really kind of instilled that in me. Like, it was definitely about sports there, but it was mostly about getting your good grades, like keeping a GPA and everything. So I just knew my path to success was not basketball at the end of the day, but basketball could guide me to where I needed to be. And I obviously loved the sport, so I wanted to keep playing. And that's why I went down the D3 path.
For me personally, it was surprisingly really hard to tell people I was going to a D3 school. I think being all-state in high school, people had this expectation that, oh yeah, of course she's going to D1, why wouldn't she? And so when people heard I was going to D3, there was this thought that, oh, something went horribly wrong, or she's actually not that good. So because of this reaction that I thought people would give me, I was really quiet about it. I didn't feel proud at first, even though I'm going to an amazing school.
When your identity is literally being an athlete, like, I felt so judged not going to a D1 school. My parents even judged me. They had put so much money, travel, and time into my club soccer experience that when I decided not to take a scholarship and go to a D3 school, it was like a little bit scary for them and me.
I think in the basketball community, it's like fine. Like, people understand, like, that's like it's a good level of basketball. But I think from people that like don't play basketball and like don't understand like how these sports work, will like more look down upon that. I was touted enough to go to like a lot of the Division I schools like coming out of high school. So like to actively make the choice to come to like a Division III school was obviously looked down upon by like a lot of people that had like seen me like play. Like, they'd rather me go to like a school like Nicholls State, which is like a small school in Louisiana, and like just have like not like no slack to like go to Nicholls State, but like have like a worse degree than if I was here. But I think it was worth it. So like I'm happy about it, even if I am judged.
It was kind of expected that I would go to a D1 school. That sounds cocky, I promise it's not. But my coach really questioned why I chose NYU over SMU just because it was D1.
It wasn't so much a judgment, it was kind of their assumption that you're not good enough to go D1, or that you didn't have the looks, or it was just like outside reasons for why you wouldn't, because everyone assumes, why wouldn't you go to that school if they're going to give you scholarship money and you're still going to college? But it's just so different. Like, you see the D1 lifestyle on social media all the time. Like, they're taking classes on the bus, they're always traveling, and they have like private tutors, and it's just not the same as actually going to class and having a one-on-one relationship with a professor.
I remember we had signing ceremonies and things in like community days, and I remember our athletic director reached out to me and was like, oh, because you're running track at NYU, would you like to take part in this? And I didn't want to, not because of the Division III aspect, but I just sort of looked at it, and I think it's hard for me to ignore that. I know that as an athlete attending a rigorous academic school, that a lot of people associate me attending it with I'm doing it, or I'm there for athletics, especially being Black, right? I mean, and I was actually adamant, like, I kind of don't want to do this. I don't want to have this ceremony because I don't want that to be the connection. But it really wasn't due to, it's D3.
No, there's nothing such as D1, D2, D3. At the end of the day, we're college athletes, and it's still considered elite, athletes. So there's no issues with this.